Hello, I'm Gwen Hill from Pine Ridge Baptist Church, Sunday School Department, Ladies Class. We are studying Exodus chapter 28. Moses is on top of the mountain with God, receiving instructions from God, if you will, the blueprints, the plans for how to have a nation begin. He has got the 10 Commandments from God. He's got the judicial plan from God. He has got the tabernacle plan from God. And now he is getting the plan for how to make the priestly garments for the priests that are going to be working within the tabernacle and ministering to the people and ministering to God. So Exodus 28, we're going to start with the first 5 verses. I do want to share with you, there is several YouTube videos about the tabernacle, but if you'll look up the one entitled Exodus 28, the Jewish priestly garments, it's very good. It's only like 7 or 8 minutes long. I showed it to my Sunday school class this morning and they seemed to enjoy it. Really goes over what those garments look like and had a person there modeling those garments. It's very interesting. Let's start at verse 1, go through verse 5. Have Aaron your brother brought to you from among the Israelites, along with his sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, so that they may serve me as priest. Make sacred garments for your brother Aaron to give him dignity and honor. Tell all the skilled workers to whom I have given wisdom in such manners that they are to make garments for Aaron and for his consecration, so that he may serve me as priest. These are the garments they are to make: a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. They are to make these sacred garments for your brother Aaron and his sons, so that they may serve me as priest. Have them use gold and blue, purple and scarlet yarn, and 5 linen. This is from the New International Version. I do want to update you on where I'm at, which scripture I'm reading. So, Moses and Aaron both are from the tribe of Levi. Now, Levi, the tribe of Levi, just means they are descended from that particular son of Jacob. And Levi's tribe, the men in Levi's tribe are going to act and function as priests. Of the many families in Levi, the family that is, I know I can remember Moses' mother's name was Jochebed. I can't remember her daddy's name, his daddy's name. But the family of Moses and Aaron, that is the tribe that the high priest will come from. Okay? All the families in Levi, the men will be priests, but only from the family of Aaron, of the family of Levi, will the high priest come from. So God tells Moses that have Aaron brought to you out of all the Israelis that are down there. I have set aside Aaron, and I want his sons, and I want you to forgive me for butchering these young men's names. There's the 4 sons of Aaron, Nadab and Abihu. I'm probably very, very wrong, but that's the best I can do. And Eleazar and Ithamar. All right, Eleazar, when Aaron passes away, when he dies, Eleazar is your second head priest. I just thought I'd mention that. 2 of these brothers, 2 of these young men, are going to be killed by God because they didn't take his method of worship seriously. When God tells us to go to the right, he doesn't mean by way of going to the left. and then end up at the right. He says when he says go right, go right. And with a brand new nation that he is really trying to get them to understand how important it is to pay attention to him, to listen and to obey, his priests have to set the example. These two young men made a fatal error. We'll study about that later. I just thought I'd give you a head start. He also in verse 3 says that the skilled workers to whom I have given wisdom. I like that. You know, you don't have to be a preacher. You don't have to be a Sunday school teacher, better than me. You don't have to be a Sunday school teacher. You don't have to be some great orator. God can use you and instill. We have weavers in the Israelite that God has inspired and has enhanced their skills to where they are going to be master craftsmen. He has gifted people who know how to work with metal. Have you ever watched a child and you say, oh, they've got a real talent for that or a knack for that, and then you provide them with ways to develop that natural talent? My daughter showed a natural talent for music when she was just a little bitty thing. And we made provision for her to play piano. That was what was her greatest interest at the time. And now she's quite a nice piano player. I certainly enjoy listening to her. But you know, that was a talent that God enabled us to help her develop. God is telling Moses here that there are people that he has given wisdom to know how to do certain skills, how to do certain things, to be creative, and how to know that that's the right welt to use when they're weaving, or the right thread to choose in their embroidery or in their garment making, or the spinning of the gold. Because he's talking about golden thread here, he's not talking about thread that is colored gold. He's talking about fine spun gold that could be so thin it was used like thread or like embroidery floss. And he gave these men and women that he enhanced their talent to be able to do what he's asking. God doesn't ever ask you to do anything that he won't provide you with what you need to accomplish. He never sets you up to fail. Never. If he asks you to do something, you already have the talent, or he'll give it to you. You can trust him. And he says, we used the gold, the blue, the purple, and the scarlet in the building of the tabernacle. And we're going to use it when we make the clothing for the priest. The first priest that he's dressing is the high priest. The ephod is what we're looking at next. The ephod is like a glorified apron. So let's remember, God is starting from what we can see here with the king's, not king, but the chief priest, what we see on the outside of him. Make the ephod of gold and blue and purple and scarlet yarn and of finely twisted linen, the work of skilled hands. It is to have 2 shoulder pieces attached to 2 of its corners so it can be fastened. Its skillfully woven waistband is to be like it, of one piece with the ephod, and made with gold and with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and with finely twisted linen. Take 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, in order of their birth. 6 names on one stone and the remaining 6 on the other seal. Then mount the stones in a gold filigree setting and fasten them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as a memorial stone for the sons of Israel. Aaron is to bear the names on his shoulders as a memorial before God, before the Lord. Make gold filigree settings and 2 braided chains of pure gold like a rope, and attach the chains to the settings. Okay, don't know if you kept up with that real good or if you read along with me. I hope you did. The ephod you have comes across, stops right there for what we're talking about right now, and sitting on the shoulders are 2 filigreed stones. On each stone, there is 6 on this one and 6 on this one, the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, when Aaron, as high priest, is wearing the ephod, if he turns his head one way or the other, he is reminded of the people that he is representing, the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? They are reliant upon the shoulders, the strength of God. So he is going in behalf of his people to ask for the strength of God. Anytime they have a problem, anytime they have a need, and Aaron goes before God to petition God for that or to pray for someone, he is reminded that his God has got strength to care for his people. All right. And they can't just lay up there or they would fall off. Every time Aaron walked, they'd fall off, so they have to have something to hold on to. So there's golden chains that will hook to the ephod, to these shoulder pieces, and it would come down. It would look like a bib. Okay? Would look like a bib. It was originally 18 inches long, the bib was, and then they folded it, and it made like a pocket on the inside, folded it, and then the open edges was the top, that here. And then the gold chains would hook on this side and would hook on this side, and it would set. Now I'll get a piece of paper. This is the ephod, okay, in the front. All right, this is the breastplate. You would have the gold chains connect the shoulder pieces to this corner and the shoulder pieces to this corner. Go look at that video. And this, if it was a whole sheet of paper, they would fold it in half, and then this would be what connects to the shoulders up here, and then there is a ring down here and a ring down here that they would put a blue ribbon attached to, and that blue ribbon would go to a waistband, the sash of the ephod. It would attach there to a ring that's there. And the reason you did that is the chief priest is not involved with a lot of the sacrifices. He is involved, but not as much as the regular priests are. And you wouldn't want him, when he bent over, for that to be hanging loose. It would have the opportunity of being soiled. So you buckle it down. Now this is, have you ever wore a sweatshirt with one of those pockets that you put your hands in and you can hold your hands together in the pocket? That's what this would be like. It would be a pocket that they could put their hands in, keep something in there. We're going to talk about that just a little bit later. And so it would be set together and held together with a gold chain. It would be tied to with blue ribbon to gold rings at his waistband, and that keeps that in place. The breastplate, the breast piece, let's talk about it. Okay, we're saying this is the breast piece. Open end is the top. Okay. You're going to fashion, this is verses 15 through 29, fashion a breast piece for making decisions, the work of skilled hands. Make it like the ephod of gold and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen. It is to be square, a span long, and a span wide. All right. This is the span, the farthest reach. Okay, this is a span, kind of like being in Hawaii. You know, that's a span, And with a man, a span was about 8 or 9 inches. 8 or 9 inches. Then you mount the 4 rows of precious stones on it. The first row shall be, and again, I'm not going to say these words right. It's the names of stones: carnelian, chrysolite, beryl. The second row shall be turquoise, lapis lazuli, and emerald. The third row shall be jacinth, agate, and amethyst. The fourth row, topaz, onyx, and jasper. You mount them in gold filigree settings. So you're going to put all of those stones on this breastplate, 4 across. You have 3 rows. Okay. The third row, let's see, the fourth, you have 4th rows, 3 on each, and then 4 rows. Yeah. There's 12 stones altogether. 1 of each of the names of the sons of Israel. Each are engraved like a seal with the name of one of the 12 tribes. For the breastpiece, make a braided chain of pure gold like a rope. Make 2 gold rings for it. Fasten it to the 2 corners of the breastpiece. Fasten the 2 gold chains to the rings at the corner of the breastpiece, and the other ends of the chains to the 2 settings, attaching them to the shoulder pieces of the ephod at the front. Make 2 gold rings and attach to the other corners of the breastpiece on the inside edge next to the ephod. Make 2 more gold rings and attach them to the bottom of the shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod, close to the seam, just above the waistband of the ephod. The rings of the breastplate are to be tied to the rings of the ephod with blue cord, connecting it to the waistband so that the breastpiece will not swing out from the ephod. Whenever Aaron enters the holy place, he will bear the names of the sons of Israel over his heart on the breastpiece of decision as a continuing memorial toward the Lord. Okay. I've described to you how this looks. It has got 4 rows with 3 stones. I get that messed up. I'm sorry. Okay. And it has gold rings at all 4 corners. The gold rings at the top connect to the gold chains that are coming from the shoulder pieces. The gold rings at the bottom have a blue cord or blue ribbon that goes from the gold ring on the chest piece down to the waistband or the sash where it has a gold ring, and you tie it there. And that secures it against the chest. Okay. Now, this pocket I was talking to you about, that this breastpiece made, he would put, let's look at verse 30, also put the Urim and the Thummim in the breastpiece so that they may be over Aaron's heart whenever he enters the presence of the Lord. Thus, Aaron will always bear the means of making decisions for the Israelite over his heart before the Lord. All right. We've been talking about the chief ornamental bib, if you would, that the chief priest would wear. Has a lot of meaning, has each name of the tribe in order of their birth on it. Each stone is the color of the pennant that tribe has chosen. When they left Egypt, the first day they were moving out, they had to choose a pennant. They had to choose a color so that they could raise it on a standard, and then everybody in their tribe would know that's where they're supposed to gather. So if I was a Judaite, and I was over here talking to a Levi person, and it was time for us to go to our groups, I would scan and look for the color of Judah's pennant, and then I would go to that area. So each tribe had their own pennant, and these stones are the color of the pennant that they wore. And on top of that, they would have an engraver engrave the name of the tribe on their color pennant stone. And so when Aaron, or the head priest, chief priest, would go in to pray for the nation, he not only had them on his shoulders as we need the strength of God. God has the strength to care for us, but we have it over our chest, over our hearts. God loves us and we love him. It is a sign of fidelity. It is a sign of regard. It is a sign of love. But now in this last verse, we're talking about two stones that he put inside the pocket, if you will. The Urim and the Thummim. I don't know again if I'm pronouncing that right. Okay. What were they for? I don't know. Neither does anybody else. But there's some really good educated guesses out there. Some of the guesses that you are going to be the most creditable to me, Matthew Henry gave one, and you have a black stone and a white stone. Okay? They are identical in size and shape. One is white, one is black. When Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, admonished him for trying to do too much, he said, get men who are well thought of in the community, who have good common sense, who are not someone that would be open to bribes. Have them come and help you. And then they would look at all the little cases, and anything that was really complex or something that was really hard, they can bring it to you, Moses. Moses thought that was a great idea and set aside 70 men to do that. Okay? So they would oversee everything, and if there was a real hard problem, they would bring it to Moses. Moses would listen, and then he would leave and go and talk with God. God would help him to understand which side needed to prevail, and Moses would come out with his answer. Matthew Henry helps us in that he thinks that what these two stones did was, we've now set the judicial system up. God has already given the plans for that. If there's something really hard for them to decide, instead of coming to Moses, they now go to the head priest. But the head priest does not have the same relationship to God that Moses had. So he would listen. He is to listen to that difficult problem. He is then to go in alone, and he is to pray for guidance. He is then going to reach into his pocket for the two stones. He is to draw one of the two stones out. And when he reaches his hand in and chooses a stone, he has no way of knowing if he's touching the black or the white. But he brings it out, and there's his decision. And then he goes back to the people and he shares what these two stones, the Urim and the Thummim, that's not right, what they have to say. And that's the way that the chief priest then would settle the difficult cases. You can find more about these stones in Leviticus 8:8, in Deuteronomy 33:8, 1 Samuel 14:41, Ezra 2:63, and Nehemiah 7:65. The stones, it is said, are light. One stands for light and the other stands for perfection. Another tradition has it that when the head priest would put his hand inside the breast piece and choose a stone, that when he brought his hand out, that stone would glow letting him know that God definitely had chosen that stone for him to select. I don't know if that's true or not. That's legend and tradition. Other priestly garments. Verses 31 through 38. Okay. Make the robe of the ephod entirely of blue cloth, with an opening for the head in its center. There shall be a woven edge like a collar around this opening so that it would not tear. Remember, these are master weavers. They are God inspired, and their talent is God enhanced. If you had a collar, it would be thicker around the neck. I'm not talking about a collar that lays out. I'm just talking about the selvage edge of the material. It would be thicker. When you look at it, if you're so inclined, you might say they look like a pair of lips. One of the sayings is that's every time Aaron wore this, he put his head down, he would rub against that little selvage edge, and it would remind him, beware of your words. Beware of your words. Speak correctly. Speak correctly. All right. Make the robe of the ephod entirely of blue cloth, with the opening for the head in its center. There shall be a woven edge like a collar around this opening so that it would not tear. Make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn around the hem of the robe, and gold bells between them. The gold bells and the pomegranates are to alternate around the hem of the robe. Aaron must wear it when he ministers. The sound of the bells will be heard when he enters the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes out, so that he should not die. Make a plate of pure gold and engrave it on as a seal, holy to the Lord. Fasten a blue cord to it and attach it to the turban. It is to be on the front of the turban. It will be on Aaron's forehead, and he will bear the guilt involved if in the sacred gifts the Israelites consecrate, whatever their gifts may be. It will be on Aaron's forehead continually, so that they will be acceptable to the Lord. Weave the tunic of fine linen. Oh, I don't want to go there yet. Excuse me. Yes, I do. Verse 39. Weave the tunic of fine linen to make the turban of fine linen. The sash is to be the work of an embroiderer. Okay. So we've talked about the blue robe. We've talked about the ephod. The ephod is kind of like a backwards apron, and it's got a bib in front, and the apron ties in front. Beneath that is the blue robe, the robe of the ephod, okay? And it's solid blue. It's sleeveless. It's like a long rectangular piece of material with a hole in the center for his head to go through. The selvage end, on both ends, you alternate a pomegranate and a bell. A pomegranate and a bell, a pomegranate and a bell. The pomegranate looks like a tassel almost, except the tassel part would be real short, and it would make a ball with the little tassels on the bottom. Soft sculpture, if you would. That's to represent pomegranate. Why pomegranates? Well, they're native to the land. When they get overripe, they will burst open and multiple seeds will escape. And it's kind of like spreading the word. Why the bells? The bells would get attention. Remember, this robe is to give honor to the wearer. Well, this, you can imagine if he dresses at home, or later they have a room where the priests dress the high priest. It would make jingle jangle noises, draw attention. They put that, and every step he made, you would hear those bells. You would hear those bells with every step he made. He is dressed in very expensive, elaborate embroidery. He is very colorful in a land that is not that colorful. So it's beautiful. the gold bells with jingle jangling when he walks. And he wears this when he goes into the holy place. Remember the tabernacle. You've got the courtyard. Then you go into the tabernacle proper. You have the holy place. And then you have the Holy of Holies. No one goes into the Holy of Holies except for once a year. And that's the chief priest when he goes in there. But many priests go into the holy place. The high priest, the head priest, he goes in there too. They go in to petition God for things or to thank God for things. They make sure that the lamps, oil lamp, the candelabra is working. It's actually not candles, but it's little oil lamps in a menorah. Make sure that they're working. They go in every Sabbath to change out the showbread. When Aaron worked with this, he would wear his full regalia in there. They could hear him moving around with the bells. And he had a turban, a white turban. The white turban had a blue ribbon for accent on it, and it covered from right here all the way over his hair and everything, and it was tightly woven. And they would get a piece of thin gold. They would emboss that gold. That gold the embossing on the gold would say holiness to the Lord. And that embossed gold would be right here on the top of the turban, and then the embossed gold. And there would be a little hole on each side, and it would be with a blue ribbon. The blue ribbon would go around and tie to secure it to the turban. So that was to remind Aaron, the head priest, it was to remind him about where he was at, what he was doing, what he was saying, because he was before the Lord God Almighty, and he was before holiness itself, and he needed to be as clean as he could be. He needed to be as prayed up as he could be. He could make sure that he had already asked for forgiveness for all of his sins, that he had gone through the sacrifice to atone for his sins before he ever came forward into the holy place to talk to God. And that's how Aaron looked. Now let's talk about the other priest. All right. The other priest. Make, in verses 40 through 43, make tunics and sashes and caps for Aaron's sons to give them dignity and honor. After you put all these clothes on your brother Aaron and his sons, anoint and ordain them, consecrate them so that they may serve me as priests. Make linen undergarments as a covering for the body, reaching from the waist to the thigh. Aaron and his sons must wear them whenever they enter the tent of meeting or approach the altar to minister to the holy place, so that they will not incur guilt and die. This is to be a lasting ordinance for Aaron and his descendants. In verse 39, I'll go back to that, and it says, weave a tunic of fine linen and make the turban of fine linen. The sash is to be the work of an embroiderer. If Aaron was standing there and his sons were standing there and you were going to dress them, they would bathe. They would get out of the water and dry, and then the first thing they would be put on would be, in our day and time, Bermuda shorts, white linen Bermuda shorts. Then they would put on a white robe. That robe would reach from wrist to around, just a round plain neck, and would reach to their ankles to the floor. That. All right, the next thing is a belt, a sash. I think it was supposed to be like 2.5 inches wide, and it was 48 feet long, people. They would wrap that around and around and around and around and around until they could tie it as a sash. Then they would put on a white It's not a turban. It's just a cap. It's just covering for their head. Some people say it had a little cone to it, but I don't see that. It's described as a cap. And that's the way the priests look. Aaron would look exactly the same, with the exception of he wears the turban with the gold emblem here. Then he puts on the blue ephod over that with the pomegranates and the bells. And then he would put the ephod over it, the embroidered ephod over it, the breast piece over it, the one with the shoulders and that. And then that is how he dressed. A lot of talking for that, isn't there? I'm sorry. This is remember, this is a land where they're in the desert. There's not a lot of color. And they are very resplendent, can you imagine seeing these men? You would know from a distance that they were set aside to work for God. Our class this morning, we briefly hit on wearing Christian t-shirts. It's the same as driving a car with a Christian bumper sticker. You better be doing what you're supposed to do, because you're advertising for our God when you do that. It's important that you live up to what you're stating to the world. These men had to live up to what they were stating to the world, and the world around them knew that they were special and that they were set aside. See you next week. I hope you have a good week. Goodbye.